All right, guys. So another episode of the Imperfectly Perfect Campaign. And today I have got an incredible lady coming on who I was fortunate enough to meet during my stint over in Los Angeles. And she took some time out during her filming schedule. But like I always do, I just talk about who's coming on today. So I'm going to give you a little bit of a rundown. So a Louisiana native of West African and European descent, she fell in love with acting 7 years old from watching movies, learning all the lines and acting out for fun with her cousins. Went on to graduate from McNeese State University with a Bachelor of Science degree in Mass Communication and an emphasis on journalism. From there, was on a path of being a news reporter and an anchor. I moved to Houston, Texas, enrolled in acting workshops, due to a little voice telling her to keep going with her acting. Ended up winning 3 accolades for performances: Best Actress, Overall Performance, and People's Choice. Gone on to gain incredible accomplishments on some of the most popular TV shows of our time. Breakout role was in Bold and Beautiful as Adele. Since appeared on one of mine and my wife's favorite shows, Grey's Anatomy, NCIA, NCIS, Lethal Weapon, and widely known for her current role as a wife opposite actor and director Tyler Perry in Tyler Perry's Boo 2, and can be seen as Priscilla Owen in Beth's newest drama, The Oval. She's also a film director with 40 plus productions to date, from stage plays to music videos, and an author with her book, Cracking the Acting Code. So I want to welcome Taja V Simpson.
Yay! I'm great. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome. What I do want to say, after reading your bio and obviously learning a lot more, one thing with me is that what I take away is I always like to know the person. So know you as Taja rather than who you're known for on a public screen. And I suppose that's the whole thing about the campaign, really closing this disparity on people looking at somebody on such a platform and thinking they can never deal with emotional struggles. But when I read a bio such as that, you've literally shown how multi-talented you are. But one thing that stood out for me, and we've talked about the kind of spirituality and thinking, is that little voice inside of you telling you to try your hand at acting, which also leads me to you once talking about nearly giving up and speaking affirmations to raise your vibrations. Where did that come from? Because I'm on my self journey at the minute, and I loved hearing that when I was reading it. So where do you think that came from?
Yeah, I can say exactly where it came from. I was engaged to be married back in 2016. And it was a whirlwind. It was like I was swept off my feet. Everything was wonderful. Everything was moving fast. And abruptly, he left. And when he left, I was devastated. And I ended up getting into a really bad depression. When he left, I found out he suffered from a mental disorder. He was bipolar. And the medication he was supposed to be on, it was supposed to treat bipolar and like another case of like schizophrenia or something like that. And so he was diagnosed when he was 11 years old, and he had learned to cope and deal with it and do certain things, and so that he wouldn't have to be committed in a sense, right? And you know, it's so funny as I'm saying this, I'm like, wow, that sounds like a lot, but it was. But I didn't know that he was living with this. So when he up and left, I was like, I didn't know what happened. And his family came and told me about it. And they were talking to me as if I knew. And I was like, I never knew he was bipolar. What do you mean? And they're like, oh, well, he said he told you. And I'm like, so the bipolar boy said to me, he was bipolar. You guys just believed it. So I was a little left like, huh? But in the midst of that struggle, I realized at that time, you know, my life was changing drastically from, you know, us, we, our, back to me, myself, and I. And I mentally had to make an adjustment to that. And I said, okay, as I sat on my sofa for over a month, and day went to night, night went into day, and all the days it was like quarantine. It was like, I didn't even know what day it was, you know? And I just kind of started on this spiritual journey of like self-discovery and personal development. I couldn't allow myself to keep doing the same things and expecting different results. So when I put my hand at something, I'm like, I'm all in. I'm hardcore. I'm like, if I'm working out, I'm working out 5 days a week. If I'm doing whatever it is, I'm like, I'm all in. That's just like my personality. I have to give my all. And I didn't want to feel like that. And that same still small voice was sitting with me on the sofa being like, get up, like you can do this, you know. And it would be small wins every day. Like, okay, I got up and I drank water and ate that day. That was a win, you know? Or if I actually went outside and walked my dogs, because at the time in my condo, I had a big dog patio, so they could just go outside at their leisure and use the bathroom, and I would just get up and change the pee pads. But I couldn't, I don't know, I was in this state of like unknown. And in that journey, it allowed me to get to self-discovery. It allowed me to understand the meaning of vibration precedes manifestation. It allowed me to get to all these different plateaus, if you will, in my personal life that made me be a better human and a better me. So now I can talk about it. It took me about a year and a half before I could even talk about it without crying. Maybe longer, because when I first heard you, I started crying. I was like, I don't even know where these tears are coming from. I thought I was over this part. But now it's something that's a part of my platform. You know, I believe words have power, get to speak life over your life. And I'm always on the journey to be better. So that's what led me to that. I had to hit rock bottom to then climb my way out of it, to be like, there has to be a better way. And for me, I found it. Yeah.
That leads me on to my next question, because you've obviously been open spoken now about dark times in your life. And what I really loved about when I met you, like, you were so transparent, you're very humble, but you always spoke about having a tiny bit of light and it will shine through that darkness. And is that what you've learned on your self-development and journey as well? And for anyone that may be struggling listening, I just love that saying, out of all the darkness, there's going to be that ray of tiny light.
Yeah, absolutely. So I believe in intuition. I believe in that still small voice. I believe in my first mind told me to do that. I believe in the little birdie that sits on your shoulder, all these different sayings that people have, right? I believe that's your inner spirit, the Holy Spirit, whatever you want to call it. It's all these different names and sayings, but we all have it that lives inside of us, right? Whether we're driving down the street and it's like, you should, go left down this way. Don't go the normal way. And you don't listen. And then you go the normal way and you're like, damn, I'm in traffic for extra 30 minutes. Something told me to turn left. Whatever that something told me is, for any of you, for me, I always try to listen to that because it never leads me astray. It's never wrong. It's always right. It's always right. So in that moment of sitting on my sofa, it literally was like I was standing outside of myself, looking at myself on the sofa, being like, come on, you're better than this. You can do this. You got this. One step, one day at a time, one step at a time. And I'm like that with my goals as well. Whatever my big goal is, then I have to break down all the different small goals that it takes to get to the larger goal. And then I celebrate the small wins along the way. So the days that I would get up and eat and drink water, and I'm like, oh, that was a win. Okay. The days that oh, wow, I'm outside today. Okay, that was a win. You know what I mean? Whatever it is, that was a win for me. So that little still small voice that's inside each and every one of us, it's always that small amount of light that's in the darkness that we all have, that all we have to do is listen to it. And sometimes it's super hard, but you just have to lean into it as much as you can, and it will never lead you astray. Like, I cannot stress that enough.
I'm a big believer in that now. I mean, I'm also a big believer in now, the more people and the more you go on your own self journey, the sort of same people that you are attracting. And then you start talking about this stuff. And I just now I don't believe in coincidences. It's all serendipitous moments, and there's certain people that are brought to you. And I'm like, yeah, the way that I've gone. But you talk a lot about your goals and your small wins and that. Reading your bio and all the stuff have you gone, where's that work ethic, that hustle come from? Like, you started at a young age at 7, you just learned all the lines. Was it from your parents? Because you've done everything. You haven't just gone to the front of the camera. You've learned all the business behind it. You've gone behind the camera. That just doesn't out of nowhere. Right.
Great question. No one's ever asked me where they come from. Definitely my parents. So my parents would say things to me like, and to all of us, all of the kids, whatever you're going to do, you have to be your best at. We were never allowed to quit at anything. You at least see it through. You can't try something one time. You're like, oh, I want to play this. I want to play softball. And you go to one game, you don't do well. And you're like, okay, I don't want to do that anymore. It's like, no, you have to see it through. My parents were really big on standing on your word. Like, your word is your bond. If you have nothing else to stand on, you should be able to stand on your word. My mother used to say to me, you know how when you ask me to do something and I say, okay, I'll take care of it. And I say, yeah. And she said, you go to bed and you sleep good at night because your mom is going to take care of it. You don't have to worry about it. I'm like, yeah. You can take that to the bank and cash it. I'd be like, yeah. And she goes, that's how good your word needs to be. You cannot give your word to anyone and then it's not as impeccable, because if you have nothing, people need to be able to stand on your word to know that no matter what, you're going to follow through because Taja said, right? So I was active so much growing up. I mean, I played softball, basketball. I was a dancer. I was a cheerleader. I ran track, and I did this, I mean, all throughout college. So in that, and I do believe it's really important with sports or some type of team activity is, I think it's really important for kids to be in things like that, because they learn about teamwork. They learn about working with others and different personalities. They learn about how to overcome goals by themselves and then collectively as a team. Like, you learn so much going through different aspects of your life at different stages of your life and ages of your life that I think is super important, that I don't think you necessarily will get as quickly by not being in sports. Now, would you get these things in other ways? For sure. But I think sports is, for me, the way that builds that camaraderie with all kind of different walks of life, different types of people, as you're learning to be great at it. So my parents would practice with us. Like, if it was softball I was playing, like, before I even made it to the all-star team, I was like the number one person on the team. But before I got there, I used to have a glove in my hand. My dad would throw the ball and I would like turn away and throw my arm out. And he's like, how can you see the ball to catch it? Like, you can't turn away from the ball. You got to catch it.
Yeah.
So every day we would be outside. Come on, Taja, get the glove. Let's throw the ball. And I had to learn how to field the ball. I had to learn all the basics, like literally ABC, 1, 2, 3. So, and every time I learned a new skill set, it was like, good job. Come on, let's go. Let's do it again. Good job. Okay. And then I would feel different. I would feel confident. I'd feel like, oh, okay, I can do this. All it takes is sometimes 1, 2, maybe 3 times of trying your hand at something, and you see you got better each time. Yeah. For me, that's progress, right? That's progress. I like to use the analogy with working out, because so many people start, stop. They have this love-hate relationship with it. I'm guilty of it as well. But every time I go back to the gym, every time I do my own home workout, I'm stronger. I can do 2 more than I did last time. Let me tell you something. That 2 more, yeah. We cheering about that. My trainer, I'll be like, woo, we did 17 instead of 15. Yes, give thanks. Like, I am excited, but it's growth. Yeah. And it's a small thing and it's a small win, but I use that in all aspects of my life because it's a different energy.
Yeah.
I had to change, when I was going through that dark place, I had to change my mindset. I changed my vernacular. I changed how I spoke. I stopped speaking negatively, like all these different things, because we will say what we want and then speak right against it, unbeknownst to us sometimes, because it's just living in our subconscious mind. So once I dissected all of that and realized, wow, I'm speaking very negatively. Okay, I can't do that anymore. So then I had to be cognizant of how my speech, cognizant of what I would say, work on to really think about what I speak before I speak. And now I know and believe that you are what you think about.
Yeah.
You have what you think about. Oh, okay, well, let me stop and really think about what it is that I want, what it is that I'm saying. Let me look around my life and see what I've attained and where I'm at in my life. And this is all because of me. Okay, I need to be a better me. So I worked on being the best me that I could be.
And you've spoken about, like, obviously when you went to the bright lights of Hollywood and LA, and then you was working several jobs and then sleeping in your car sometimes when you was between, instead of going all the way back home. Mm-hmm. Is that mindset what got you through those times as well, knowing that you had a goal? Because you're very driven, it's obvious and it's clear to see. Mm-hmm. But a lot of people maybe who are listening, that's where, how did you go from keeping that positive mindset to overcoming that obstacle and not quitting? Was it that little voice that just keep going, Taja?
It was that little voice, but it was also me telling myself this is only temporary. Like the times that I would be living in my car, I had nowhere to stay, or I tried to get a hotel, or I would sleep in the parking lot of a hotel, or whatever it was, there were totally nights where I'm crying, going to bed, like, okay, I'm trying to figure this out, okay. But in my mind, I'm like, this is only temporary. We're not going to be here forever. So in understanding that and knowing that this is just a part of the journey, then it made the pill easier to swallow. That's the only way for me that I could get through it, because I knew this is the sacrifice that I'm making. So, I ate a lot of fast food back then just because I could get a burger for $1. You know what I mean? No matter where I went, I get a burger for $1.07. Great. So that means if I got $3, $4, I can eat 3 different times, 3 different places and I'm gonna be full off this burger. And if I got extra coins in my pocket, I can get French fries too, right? And let me get a cup of water. Thank you so much. But while you're going through that, I remember I used to journal a lot back then, and I would either write it out or I would do verbal journal. So back then, phones didn't really have, this was like maybe 10 years ago, 12 years ago, I don't know. But the phones didn't really have all the little bells and whistles they have now. So I had the little not the tape recorder, but the little dictation, whatever. It was still digital, but that thing. And I would sit in my car and I would just speak about how I was feeling. And then cut to a year later, I'd go back and listen to it and I just hear how broken I was. And I'd be like, wow. And I think journaling is something that's super important for all of us to do, because once you go back and look at yourself, sometimes a week or 2 months later, you're like, wow, I remember that feeling. And I could really put myself in that place and conjure up that feeling and emotion of what I felt. And I would tell myself, this is how you're feeling right now, but you're not going to be like this forever. So yeah, you're sleeping in your car. Yeah, you trying to figure stuff out. Yeah, you're staying in this hotel. Yeah, you're doing whatever, but just keep going. Like, don't give up. And I've always had this don't give up kind of attitude. I don't really know how to give up.
Yeah,
I can't really do that.
I think it's a really good attitude. I've got a really good friend, and I've mentioned it on the podcast before, but she suffered with depression. She's an actress. She moved to LA and everything. But what keeps her going every single day, and she tries to ingrain it with other people, is tomorrow may be just the best day of your life. And that keeps her going. And she's like, she doesn't know how to give up. But when it comes to yourself, attributing to the campaign a little bit. So when I initially started it, and I told you when we met, I reached out to a lot of big organizations and I got thank you, but no thank you. So I have got a similar drive, and I was just like, right, I'm going to do this. So back to you, you wanted to be an actress, but then you also learned the business, and you was like, right, I'm not doing anything, so I'm going to start making my own films. Mm-hmm. That is so inspirational to me, and that took off. And now you've done how many of your own? You've got your own production company, and
yeah, I have my own production company. It's called The Dream Is Real. It started with doing music videos and then short films and stage plays and all that kind of stuff. But it was because I was tired of getting told no. Yeah. In this business, you get told no a lot. And at the time, I was working at my church, and I was the director of the worship arts theater group and the drama ministry. And so I was over, sometimes 60 plus people doing these big plays, these big productions. And because I was the president, I was also kind of like the director by default and having to put these big productions together and all this stuff. But I learned so much because I learned how to cast. I learned what to do, what not to do, even for myself as an actor. That led me to film my own auditions prior to going into the room, because I wanted to see what was I doing before I got there. Because why am I getting all these no's? Because then people tell me you're so great. Okay, well, maybe I don't audition well. Deductive reasoning is always my friend, because I'm always trying to figure things out. How can I be better in this? How can I be great at that? So that was a great big part of it. And that led me to, doing features and all this stuff. And now I don't have, it's so funny. Now I'm on this TV show and it's great, but now I'm finding time to be like, okay, now I'm itching to do another one of my own productions. But I'm grateful for my show. So don't, let me not sound ungrateful. I made it up here finally. It took me forever. Thank you, Jesus. But doing that came from hearing no so many times and believing in myself enough to know, well, let me show you that I can be a leading lady. Let me show you that I can be funny. Let me show you that I can be I can play this dramatic role. Let me show you all these different things. And because the first thing people ask about you is like, oh, you're an actor. Have you ever been in anything that I've seen, anything that I would know, and all that. Or do you have a reel? Yeah, I have a reel. Then it's like, oh, let me see your reel. It's so funny. It's the most disrespected. Acting and modeling, I think, is the most disrespected profession sometimes, because the first thing people want to know are, well, is it something that, I would know? I don't know, sir. What do you know? I don't know. I could be on a number one TV show and you still not watch my show. I don't know. You know what I mean? Same with modeling. It's the same thing. So it just, I would hate that energy when I would say, oh, I'm an actor. I'm this, I'm that. Oh, really? You're one of the many. So it made me want to learn the business more. And learning the business was super important. Learning behind the scenes was really important. As I would talk to people that were in the business, they would say, you know, acting, this is, you're self-employed. So if this is a business and I got to learn the business, I got to run my business, I have to understand my business.
Yeah.
And all of that then led to like the book, because I wanted people to know about the acting, of everything about acting. And then the second one we want to do is going to be more about the business of acting, because that's equally as important. You have to know everything about the business, even to be a better actor.
Yeah. I suppose that was going to lead me on to cracking the acting code. If you, what does that delve into?
So cracking the acting code, it's a practical step-by-step guide to becoming a professional actor. Yes, it's a long title, but whatever. So a friend of mine, her name is Sabrina Imreville. She is also an actor and she's brilliant. And I was thinking about writing a book, and lo and behold, she was thinking about writing a book, and then we ended up talking about it and was like, I want to write a book, I want to write a book. So we ended up doing this book together. But it really talks about the styles and tones of acting, from commercial acting to theater acting to film acting, which is really, everything is different. Every TV show has its own tone, has its own style. When you go into audition, you have to know about the show, you know, that's important. It talks about your resume, your reel, how to get an agent. It talks about knowing your type. My God, every actor in the world needs to know their type. Most actors do not know their type. So we wanted to dive into things that people don't really talk about when it comes down to acting and getting started and what to do and how to get started. Because the number one question I would get asked all the time is, oh my God, how do I get started in acting? And I used to have that same question before I got started in acting. And so she and I took all of the experience and all of our knowledge from all the years of being in LA and just put it all in one book. And we made it super easy. That's why we call it a practical step-by-step guide, because it's literally like ABC, 1, 2, 3. You have to break things down for people so it doesn't get too analytical, because acting is already subjective. You know what I mean? Acting is already, you know, art. And art in motion, and art's different to every single person. So we wanted to make sure it's like, you do this, you do that, this is what happens. So that's where the book came from. Super proud of the book. So now when I get the question, because anytime I'm on a show or something comes up, I get inundated in my Facebook or in my Instagram, like, oh my God, I loved you on this. How do I get started in acting? I'm like, thank you for that question. Read the book. Here's the book. I put it all in there. If you read it and come back to me, I'll have a whole conversation with you. I think I've only had one person that's actually come back, because no one wants to do the work. Like, acting isn't about not doing the work. You got to do the work. So if you read the book, it's like less than $20 on Amazon. We spent a year putting it together, getting everything in it with both of our schedules. Everything is in the book. Read the book. And I tell everybody, if you read the book and come back to me after you've read it, we can get on the phone or, you know, whatever, Zoom, and have like a nice, good hour conversation. Because what was happening is I would get referred to people, and I wanted to help so many people so much. And I'd have all these hour-plus long conversations with everyone, but no one was doing the work.
Yeah.
So then it's like, I would get drained with this person and this person and this person. I mean, every time I'd have like 4 or 5 conversations a day, just trying to help people, but then no one do the work. So then I follow up. Oh yeah, no, I didn't sign up for it yet. Yeah, no. And I'm like, okay, you're not ready. I get it. So now I've done all the work, and whenever you're ready, hit me up.
I think that's the thing. Like, there's so many people who want that quick road to success, and they don't realize that if they're asking somebody who has done the hard roads, it's, of course you want to help them, but you want to see that they've actually like gone and done the practical steps, like you said. And I got a friend who was training in London one day, and he was texting, and he was like, my God, Henry Cavill, Superman, is training next to me. And he was asking people, he was like, should I just bite the bullet and go and ask him how to get into acting? Because he was an actor. Or should I? And I was like, I texted him and I was like, dude, maybe just do your research and put your hard yards in, and then you probably respect it. Because you can imagine, like yourself, you've just said, you get so many people who just reach out wanting to know the quick ways to success, I suppose. It's kind of hearing your story firsthand and what you've done, and slept in a car some days and worked in telemarketing to get by. You really have to. Right. What I've learned about meeting yourself and several on this campaign is that industry is something that doesn't speak to myself, because I really think, and I take my hat off, I think what you achieve in success in that, ultimately you need a strong network of people and a strong mindset, because like you say, that it's kind of one of those things where you sometimes have to sleep in a car, you have to do this, but you have to know the end result. So
Right.
what would you want to, or what I would say is, how have you been able through all that, starting noticing your little wins, like the successes, to drown out the noise as well? Because with an industry like that, there's going to be a lot of people wanting your attention. And how have you managed to keep your well-being sane?
Yeah. Great question. Meditation. 1000%. You like that song? Meditation for me is essential. Like that's an essential item as we're living in the essential time. But no, that for me is essential because it keeps me grounded. It keeps a lot of any negative thoughts that come up, it keeps them out. It's still a practice. Negative thoughts still come up. Things come up in your mind. Doubts come up in your mind. Fear comes up in your mind. All these things still come up in your mind, but I've had to learn to practice to count them out.
Yeah.
So when I have fearful thoughts or anything with fear related that may happen, I call them little hiccups, where they kind of like try to hiccup in your mind really quickly. Immediately, I'll be like, well, fear isn't real because it doesn't exist. False evidence appearing real. So if it's false evidence appearing real, it's not real. It's only real because you believe in it.
Yeah.
That's what I believe about fear. When you're a little kid and you're scared of the dark, you believe that there's a boogeyman in the closet or whatever it is that brings you this fear. Your belief is what fuels it. Then you grow up and you're like, I'm not afraid of the dark. That's insane. Like, you know what I mean? Like you're an adult now, you're not afraid of the dark. So that's a different level, but there's also different levels of fear. There's different levels of faith. There's different levels of all of it. So for me, and understanding that, so the only thing that gives it power is my belief. So let me not believe in that thing that's fear. You know what I mean? So whatever that is in my life, I just don't believe in it. I believe in what gives me a better positive energy. Like I don't say things like I can't. I say that's an area of growth. An area of growth, when you say that, it's like, that brings off a different energy. Now I feel like I can actually do that and try it. And it doesn't feel such a heavy weight to then try something. It's like, well, you know what? I don't know if I can do that. That's an area of growth for me. That's something I'm working on. Because we can always be ever evolving, ever growing, and ever changing, right? But if you say, well, I can't, that's such a negative energy and spirit over there that makes it not feel as good. Yeah. And so I try to live in such a positive vibration every day. My friends will tell you, my mother, my father, my family, everyone will tell you. Like when I was started this journey, I had to really cancel people out of my life for a time. I guess because it's like getting in an AA meeting of some sort, some type of sobriety. You can't continue hanging around the same friends and doing the same lifestyle if you're trying to then get cleaned up. So I was trying to then clean up my thoughts and clean up my mind and clean up my life. So my old way of thinking and my friends and how they were thinking, I couldn't do that during my transition of trying to get stronger. Now I'm in a space where, I'm good. So my friends know I'm not the one to call that I'm not the friend that's going to sit on the phone and sulk with you for 2 hours about anything because I don't believe in that. So I'm not the friend that's going to do that.
I was just trying to bring up on Audible. It's funny you were talking about raising your vibrations because I've just gone into all that at the minute and I'm reading this book, an audio book. I don't like reading. I've never got time. My mind's so overactive.
Right.
It's called, I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's called Trust Your Vibes and it's by Sonia Choquette. And it's basically talking about how to raise your vibrations and live in that positive mindset. And I mean, the reality of things are during COVID and everything, there are people who are losing jobs and all that. So it's not disparaging what people are going through. But what I've learned through meditation is that I was always overactive. And I was like, how do you clear your mind? And you really don't have to, do you? You let those thoughts go in and out. But have you tried breath work?
No.
Oh, try breath work. So
tell me, change my life. Change my life.
I'll actually send you a link. So I've been doing these virtual hangs through the campaign just to create a community where people feel like they can come and chat. And I've been having guests on, and I got a good friend, Jeremy Jackson, who was on Baywatch. Been friends with him for like 4 years, and he went through and he's openly spoken about addiction and then recovery, and now he helps people. But he went down the holistic therapy approach as well. And he teaches breath work, and it's literally a form of meditation, but ways in which and people can literally, whatever you're suppressing, your emotions, people will end up crying. People just feel elated. I'll send you the link to it. Try it one day, and you'll be like,
Yeah.
whoa! You can start shaking and moving.
Yeah. Oh my God, I love that. Okay. Yes, thank you.
Well, we've gone through the main shot. So how I normally end them is just firing some quick questions to you, just so people can get
Okay.
a little bit. So I'm going to
Okay.
go. Before I do go to them, I do want to know, you have kind of explained it. You always congratulation. I can't speak now. Congratulate yourself on the small wins. When was that time for you? Maybe an event or whatever show you was on where you were like, all these little small wins, I've now attained what I've always wanted. And how did it go?
Great question. Yeah. So that would be with the show that I'm on now, because I'm on Tyler Perry's The Oval that's on BT. And so we are the #1 scripted cable television show on Wednesday nights among general audiences. So that was like a huge deal. So I want to say once I booked the show, it didn't really hit me. It hit me a little bit, but not until the show came out. And then you're getting the feedback from everyone. Because when you book the show, you can't tell anyone. It's not in the trades. You can't talk about it publicly, just with your, contractually, you're not supposed to say a word to anyone. So you're living in this bubble, only speaking to other actors that are a part of the production going on this journey with you. And it wasn't until I was at home and I was talking to my friend Crystal, and she said, we were getting ready for the premiere. And so as an actor, there's all these premieres and red carpet and lights and all these things that you desire to go to. But if you're not on the list, you can't walk the carpet. So oftentimes being in LA, we would find out about these events, but we would go, and it's like when the carpet's kind of shut down, they let you go and take your photos and things like that, because we couldn't get on the carpet. We weren't, invited. We weren't big enough names at the time. So now here's one of the first big times that I'm a name on the show. It's like, oh, Taja, we've been waiting for you. You're escorted in. It's like this whole other life. And I'm like, oh, wow, I'm on the other side now. This is, wow, okay. And I remember talking to her about it. And she said, do you remember when we used to go to these carpets and stand back and just look and be like, oh, wow, we can't wait to do that and have that experience, because it always looks so glamorous and it looks so like, ooh, I wonder what that would be like. And it wasn't until I walked that carpet and I was in the moment, and someone asked me, I forget what the question was, but it triggered that memory. And so being on that carpet at that moment, it was like everything rushed to me at that moment. And I was like, wow, I made it. Okay. Wow. But that was everyone's made it, quote unquote, made it is different. You know what I mean? Everyone has different levels. For me, I wanted to be a series regular on a really popular and a great TV show. And here I am, and I'm doing that, living that, and I'm forever grateful. But that was the actual moment in time that everything hit me. And it was like, oh, wow. Okay, here we go.
Well, you're certainly doing it. Yeah, having some good success. I mean, every time I try and reach out to you, it's like, I'm on this project.
No, I'm sorry. Thank you.
So it's amazing. But I've got your quick, short fire questions, right? So a bit of a Q&A. So favorite music at the moment?
Oh gosh, it's going to be the Savage remix with Megan Thee Stallion and Beyonce. Wow. My favorite song. I got real specific.
Pre-game rituals. So if you've got an event or if you're about to go on set or something, I mean, we talk about the campaign. There's sometimes people who have performance anxiety. So what are your pre-game rituals?
Yeah, my pre-game ritual is time. Like I need about 15 minutes to myself, not feeling rushed, not being, sent over here, sent over there. I need 15 minutes to myself to just breathe. And I just don't want to think about anything. I've already done the work, but this is my time to really center and focus and go. That's all I need. I don't like feeling rushed. Rushed gives me anxiety. And I have to tell myself there's no shortage of time. There's no shortage of time. You got this. There's no shortage of time to bring down the anxiety. That works for me. But if I can have 10 minutes by myself with uninterrupted, I'm golden.
Yeah. Career highlights.
Yeah. Career highlights? Well, it would just be the Oval, because it's like the biggest thing that I've done to date. So that would be my biggest career highlight. Yeah.
Who's your inspiration?
My inspiration. Wow, that's always a great question. I draw inspiration from a lot of people, but I'm just gonna go off the cuff right now. The first person that's in my mind, probably because I just said her name, is Beyonce. Not just because, okay, yeah, she's Beyonce, but she's from the South. I'm from Lake Charles, Louisiana. She's from Houston, Texas. I used to live in Houston, Texas. It's a 2-hour drive, right? So Houston is like a big Lake Charles for me. And with her, to see everything that she's built, being from where I'm from, that is inspiring for me.
Yeah.
For sure.
It's funny because I saw your picture with Beyonce. You actually met her. How was that the first time?
Yeah.
I bet that was a dream.
Oh my God. That was a dream come true for sure. Because in that moment, my publicist walked up, introduced us, and she was sitting down and she was eating. And I felt like, oh my God, she's eating. I don't mean to interrupt you, but hi, And I told her at the time, I said, I'm so grateful for your song about brown skin girls, because that song has given me so much. I mean, it makes me walk in so much power just in my own skin, being a dark-skinned African-American woman. Oftentimes I've been discriminated against a lot with colorism just for being dark. So now having this song that's like professing the beauty of being Black and a brown-skinned girl specifically. It's not like, oh, you're a Black girl. It's like, no, brown-skinned girls. It's like all you brown-skinned girls, And that song, I was like, it just helped me so much. Like, thank you. And in that moment, she was like, oh my God. I was like, I used to have self-esteem under my shoe. Like I was the little girl who was like the little ugly duckling that grew into the beautiful swan. But that took a lot of work to believe that I was the beautiful swan. Belief is where it is, And she was like, oh my God, you're so gorgeous. And thank you for telling me that. That's what I want for my children. I want them to grow up believing and knowing that they're beautiful in the skin that they're in. She was like, thank you for sharing that with me. That's why I wrote the song. And so we ended up taking a picture, and people were taking photos of it. And that's how I got it. Somebody was like, oh, let's take this photo. And I was like, okay. And I took the photo, and it was like a video went viral. And I was just like, oh my God. I didn't feel like that until the end, like after it was over.
Yeah.
And I was like, I just met Beyonce. And the next day, someone randomly off my email from Instagram sent me the video. And was like, oh, I just wanted to share this with you. I figured you would want it. And she sent the video, and that thing went viral like in a day. And everyone was like, oh my God, this girl is so lucky, da, da, da. And that moment was like, oh shit, that happened. Hey, Beyonce,
Wow.
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, that girl's me.
Yeah, that goes me.
Then I've got you a quick one, because you kept on talking about when you had like a couple of dollars and you could get a burger. What's your favorite fast food? What's your guilty pleasure? I don't really eat it that
much. What's my guilty pleasure? You know what? I guess I would say chips. I'm such a chipper. I love potato chips. I don't know if that's a guilty pleasure, but I eat clean all the time. So I don't really.
When you have your cheat meals, you can have your chips, mate.
When I have my cheat, I have chips. I know.
I feel like
I never do that.
Like, I cannot wait for a bloody cheat meal.
Right, exactly.
And your last question, what would you like to be remembered for?
Great question. Legacy, outside of all the glitz and the glam and, the television and things like that, my biggest platform is speak life over your life. When I go and I'm a keynote speaker for different women events or just events in general, that's my platform. I believe there's power in that. Now that I've walked into it, I believe it, I know it, I've seen it manifest in my life. I've seen the power of it. For me, it's all about legacy. Like my legacy, I want to be remembered for being able to help change lives in a positive way for the better versus, man, she was great in that TV show. Yeah.
And you're certainly doing it. And I can't thank you enough when I reached out and you got back in touch with me and you came on the campaign, and you literally, within 2 seconds, as you said, you just spilled your heart out to a complete stranger. And those
oh my God.
So I can't thank you enough. I mean, the feedback on the campaign itself, it's just resonating because it's real and people recognize you guys as inspirational public figures. So yeah, I just want to thank you. I know we're in COVID at the minute, but what's next for yourself?
So once COVID is over, we have a Zoom call tomorrow with Tyler Perry for the show to see when we're going to come back. I'm assuming sooner than later. It was going to be mid-June. It's probably going to be May now because I'm in Atlanta and Atlanta's open now. So the TV show, and then I have 3 movies lined up back to back to back that I was supposed to be doing. It was supposed to be a movie, the TV show, and 2 movies. And so they're just trying to get scheduling together. So it'd be 3 films.
Wow.
So now everybody's going to be working. They're just like, okay, you can work. Okay, great. So we're all getting back to work. So, yeah.
And where can people find out more information about you? I'll put the links obviously under the podcast and everywhere, but if anyone wants to find out, or where can they get the acting code book?
You can get the acting, Cracking the Acting Code is on Amazon. So go to Amazon.com, put in my name, Taja V Simpson, or Cracking the Acting Code. I also have a lipstick collection that I launched in February. So my name, TajaVSimpson.com. And there's just my Instagram. Everything's at Taja V Simpson. My Facebook, my Instagram, my YouTube. Literally, you can just go to any one of those and everything is updated. So Taja V Simpson.
You are building an empire. You're going to be the next Beyonce.
Wow, thank you. I receive it.
You're going to be there. And at least I can say,
I appreciate it.
I met you and I did a podcast with you.
Exactly. I appreciate that so much. Thank you.
You are welcome. So yeah, I want to thank you again. And for anybody listening, the episode will be available via Spotify, iHeartRadio, and iHeartTunes. Tune in next week if we've got more incredible guests. But I will let you go, Taja, and thank you very much again.
Thank you. I appreciate it.